I want to start by saying that I downloaded the app because of Marcus. I want to be clear about this, because in the retelling of this story, which I have now told 3 people, there is a version where I downloaded it organically, out of curiosity, as a natural extension of my social life in America. That version is more flattering and completely false. The true version is that Marcus was sitting on the couch, swiping with the rhythm of a man sorting mail, looked at me and said, "You're not on anything?" in the tone people use when they discover you have been living without running water. Concerned, slightly amazed, like the absence itself was the problem. I said I hadn't gotten around to it. He said, "Bro, you've been here 2 years." I did not have a strong answer for this, so I said, "Just stuff." And he handed me his phone and watched me until I made one. This is how it started. Someone else's certainty filling the space where my hesitation was standing. The profile took 47 minutes. Not because I am vain, because every question felt like it had a wrong answer, and I didn't know which one to avoid. What are you looking for? The options were something casual, something serious, open to anything. I stared at these for an embarrassing amount of time. I am looking for something real. That was not one of the options. I selected open to anything and moved on. The prompts were worse. The most spontaneous thing I've done is, and a conversation starter with me is. Simple words, impossible question underneath. The question was really, who are you in this country? To a stranger who will decide in 3 seconds if you are worth their time. I wrote and deleted my answers 11 times. The final version said, "The most spontaneous thing I've done is move to a different continent with 2 suitcases." I'm convinced that the party start time they give you is never the real time. A conversation starter with me is, "Ask me anything. I will give you a real answer." Marcus read it. He said, "Okay, actually, that's clean." This is the highest praise Marcus gives. I have heard him describe a sunset as clean. I took it. Her name was Jordan, with a Y. She matched on a Thursday and messaged first. Her opening message was, "Okay, the 2 suitcases thing. What was in them?" Not hi, not "your profile is cute," straight to the question. I told her clothes, books, a hard drive with every photo my mother had ever taken of our family, and a jar of my grandmother's pepper soup spice that I was not technically supposed to bring through customs, but which I decided was worth the risk because there are things more important than customs regulations, and my grandmother's pepper soup is one of them. She said, "You smuggled spices for your grandmother. That's genuinely the most romantic thing I've read on this app." I didn't know how to respond. Not because I wasn't pleased, but because in Lagos, what I did was just a normal thing. You carry what matters. You bring what keeps you connected. This is not romance. This is just how people move. But here it was romantic. The ordinary facts of how I love my family were extraordinary. I filed this in the folder I keep for things America finds surprising about me that I did not know were surprising. We talked for 6 days before she suggested meeting. She said, "There's a wine bar in Oakley. Low-key. Good for talking." I spent 45 minutes figuring out what low-key wine bar meant as a dress code. I texted Marcus. He said, "Just wear something clean." I texted Priya because Priya has better answers. She said, "Smart casual, not a blazer, not a hoodie. The middle." Always the middle. I wore a dark green shirt, dark jeans, clean sneakers. I left 20 minutes early, arrived 11 minutes early, and sat in my car for 9 minutes so I would walk in exactly 2 minutes before the time we agreed. Not first, not late, just already there, already settled, like I had been comfortable the whole time. This was a plan. I executed it. I am not embarrassed. She was already inside. This was not part of the plan. She was at a table near the window, looking at her phone, a glass of something red in front of her, wearing a yellow top that made the whole table feel warm. When she looked up, she smiled the kind of smile that arrives before a person has decided to smile, the only kind that means anything. She said, "Ada, right?" I wasn't sure about the pronunciation. I said, "You got it." She said, "I practiced." I sat down. I want to tell you I was calm. I was not calm. I was a very organized panic wearing a calm expression. We talked for 3 hours and 14 minutes. She was from Cleveland, master's program in public health. She had a younger brother. She spoke about the way I speak about my mother, with love that was also protective, also slightly worried, living underneath everything she said about him. She had been on 12 first dates in the last year. She said this directly, unprompted, in the matter-of-fact way Americans share personal history, like a handshake. "Here, this is me. Now you know." In Lagos, this conversation takes months. Here, it arrived in the first hour with the wine. I told her about Lagos, not the clean version I give professors and advisors, the real one. The traffic that is not traffic, but a whole society of people managing the distance between where they are and where they need to be. My mother's voice every Sunday, 60% of the truth traveling 5,000 miles to reach my ear. She listened. She did not say, "That's so cool." She asked a question, then another. Good questions, the kind that means someone was actually listening and not just waiting to respond. I recalibrated. There is a moment on every first date where the performance ends. You both arrive performing. She is performing being relaxed. You are performing being relaxed. And then somewhere around the second drink, one of you says something real, unplanned, something that was not in the script. For us, it was when she asked if I was happy here. Not, "Are you enjoying it?" Not, "How do you like Cincinnati?" She asked if I was happy. Present tense, specific. I stopped. 2 seconds. She noticed and said, "You don't have to answer that," in the way people say it when they are hoping you will anyway. I said, "I am building something here. I don't know if the thing I am building is happiness or just the conditions for it. I think they look similar from the outside." She was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "That's the most honest thing anyone has said to me in this city." The performance was over. We were just two people, talking. We split the bill. She insisted before I could offer, which meant 2 cards arrived simultaneously, and a confused waiter handled it with the patience of a man who has seen everything. We walked to the parking lot. February in Ohio is a cold that has an opinion about you. She pulled her coat tighter. I kept my hands in my pockets. We walked at the pace of people who are not ready for the night to end, but have run out of building to walk through. At her car, she said, "I had a really good time." I said, "I did too." She said, "I mean it. First dates are usually, you know." I said, "I know." She said, "This wasn't that." Then, "Text me when you get home so I know you made it," and got in her car. Not, "We should hang out," the American phrase that means nothing. She said, "Text me when you get home so I know you made it," which is what you say when you have already decided the person in front of you is someone you want to continue knowing. I drove home. I texted her. She replied in 4 minutes. "Good. Same time next week?" I told Marcus when I got in. He read my face before I said anything. He said, "So?" I said, "Good." He said, "Clean good or actually good?" I thought about 3 hours and 14 minutes. The yellow top, the practiced name, the parking lot, the text. I said, "Actually good." He nodded, went back to his phone. 9 words, perfect understanding. No elaboration needed. This is also America. I don't know what happens next. This is a first date story, not a love story. Or maybe it is the first page of one and I am still inside it and cannot see its shape yet. What I know is I came here with 2 suitcases and a jar of contraband spice and a mother who talks to God about my future on a first-name basis. I did not come here to fall in love. I came here to build something. But she asked if I was happy, and I gave her the real answer, and she stayed at the table. And she practiced my name before I arrived. And in a city where I am still translating everything, the thermostat, the red cup, the Venmo request, the party that starts at 11, she said something that needed no translation. Text me when you get home so I know you made it. I made it. She already knew I would. That's the whole story. For now.